Hello, good morning everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. Happy New Year, if it's your first one joining us again in this year. So my name's Jackie, and today I'm all alone, and I will be presenting to you global changes. This won't take the full 45 minutes. It is quite a short, snappy topic, but it is something that is quite topical around this time of year. And what we wanted to do was just show you one of those features that's not very well used because it does tend to be hidden away, but might be a good time saver for you at this time of year. So like I say, I'm on my own today, so if you do have any questions, it will be me that's answering them, so please do bear with me. We can try and incorporate them into a demonstration if needs be, or I'll address them at the end of the session today. The team are all busy in the background preparing for version 29, which we're going to be launching later next week, so that's where they all are at the moment there. Okay, so just a bit of housekeeping before we begin. I have just uploaded the handout for you. So if you were looking for the handout earlier and you didn't manage to find that, it should now be there available for you. If you have any issues with that, please do just let me know if there's any problems there. But we are putting you on mute for today, and that just means that you can't speak to me directly, but if you do have any questions, then please do submit your questions across using the questions panel, and obviously we'll try and prioritize anything regarding today's topic, but if you do have any other questions, then by all means do send them over too. And like I mentioned there, you can download the handout using the icon that looks like a document with the folded over corner, and that is just a few of the PowerPoint slides that we're going to go through today for you. So we're going to be looking at global changes, but I decided while we're looking at global changes and trying to change multiple records in one go, what we'll also take a quick look at is the batch changes feature as well, just in case you haven't come across that one there. So it is a really good topic to do at this time of year. It's the new year, which means that there's lots of changes that people want to implement for the new financial year. So we're going to have a look at that wizard and what that can change for you. I'm going to show you in terms of increasing credit limits on your customers. So it might be that you need to increase credit limits. It might be that you need to decrease credit limits, and it could be used for both of those. The key one that tends to be used at this time of year, more so at the moment with what's going on in the world at the moment, is increasing product sales prices, but it might also be product purchase prices. And then I'm going to very briefly touch on altering discounts. Now, discounts aren't really heavily used, but you can alter discount rates as well if need be. And then, like I mentioned, we're just going to have a quick look at the batch changes feature as well, just to show you what can be changed using batch changes. Okay, so for most of this, to be honest, I'm going to just do this on a demonstration. So you will have access to the slides if you need to, so please do get those downloaded during the session. But it does make it much easier if we just do this in a demonstration format for you. So I'm just going to go into my data. I'm just making sure that the screen's uploading there so you can see that. Okay, so I'm actually doing this in demonstration data today. So if you do feel that after today's session you'd like to give it a go, then demonstration data is there for you to have a play around with. And it's a set of data that we've created for you so that there's already data in there. You don't have to start setting up your own data in order to trial some things out. The first thing I would recommend absolutely before doing a batch change is to take a backup of your data. Now, unfortunately, with demonstration data, you can't take a backup of your data. But if you are going to do this in your live data, I do have to emphasize that once you've done your batch change, it isn't normally something we can reverse. So there isn't, unfortunately, a reverse option to it. Yes, you could go back through batch changes again and change it back, but you might find that there are issues on the back of that. So I would always say if you're going to do anything in your software to take a backup, and that would be through File and then Backup, which, like I say, because I'm in demonstration data, it's currently grayed out. But if you take a copy of your data just before you make any changes there. So the global changes wizard, it is a wizard, so it talks us through step by step, each step of the way of what it's going to take us through is found within the tools menu. And like I say, it is actually quite a rarely used tool. So that's why we chose to do this particular one, because it is something that's really useful. And it's really useful if you're trying to make changes all in one go across multiple records. So it's a great time saver. So within tools, we've got the option for global changes. Okay, so because it's a wizard, we've got 4 steps to this. Okay, so we are consciously making that decision. It's not something that we click a button and it does it straight away. We consciously make these changes to the records, and there's 4 steps before any changes will in fact be made. So the first one I'm going to look at is credit limits. Okay, so it might be that time of year where you review all of your customers and you've decided that you're going to increase credit limits across your customers. It might be just across certain customers. And again, global changes can be used to do that across just certain ones, not all of your records in one go. So I'm going to select credit limits and select next. What we then get to do, I've unfortunately highlighted a customer on my list, is I get to choose which customers this applies to. So I'm just going to do is I'm just going to come out of my customers, make sure I don't have anything highlighted. Just go into standard mode. Bear with me, I've just got a filter applied there, which is why it's showing there. Make sure we remove the filter. Bear with me there. And we'll try that again in global changes. So there's a good example of where it can go wrong. So learn from mistakes that we look at today. So if you've got something highlighted in the list or you've got a search applied to a particular module, that will pull through onto the global changes wizard. So don't be alarmed if you've gone in and you've only got one customer or a couple of customers like I have there. As you can see now, I've removed the filter. It now gives me the option to pick my customers from my list. So it doesn't mean that I have to do a blanket change across everyone. I do in fact get to choose which customers I apply this to. Now, if I did want to do it to everyone, rather than having to click my way through all of them, what I can do is select swap. Nice and easy, select swap there. And then if we go on to next, this is where we get to choose what change we're going to apply to those credit limits. So the type of change, there's quite a few options in here. And it might be that you've got a group of customers you want to increase, you've got a group of customers you want to decrease. So then you can use the global changes wizard multiple times across those different records to apply this change. So I'm just going to show you one example here, and I'm going to do an increase by a percentage. But what you can do is it might just be that you want to increase everyone's credit limit by, say, £1,000. Then you could add an amount. And whatever they've got as their base rate, it will increase that for you. But I'm just going to do it as a percentage. And I can just say, I'm going to say 10% on there. And what we can then do is look at rounding, which doesn't really impact as much on things like customer credit limits, but when you're looking at product sales prices and product purchase prices, then rounding could be very important. So you've got the option to round up, to round down to the nearest value, and also we've got the option for multiple decimal places in here as well. So if you're in the sort of intricate multiple decimal places, you can actually go to 2, but bear in mind that will just be across your, I think this is just on your product records, it can go up to 7. I'm going to double check that one for you. So on here, obviously, it's the customer credit limit that we're changing, so it's only up to 2 decimal places on here. And also we've got the ability to pop on an adjustment as well. If it's, say, for example, 99 pence, it will round it up to the nearest pound with an adjustment too. So I'm just going to increase this percentage. I'm just going to go back and make sure I'm not doing all of mine. I just want to do a couple of examples here. Now, what we won't see, whoops, I'm just going to say pop on. What we'll then see is a review of what we're going to do. Okay, so it's showing me now, I've highlighted just those 3 customers. I've gone back and changed those. It's telling me exactly what it's going to change it from and what it's going to change it to based on those. So like I say, it is a conscious change that we're making. It's not something we click one button that makes that change. We do actually have to go through 4 steps to get to this point. And the great thing here as well is we get an option to print this or to send it out to Excel. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to post these changes. And again, it's just telling me there that I can't reverse it. So this is where my backup would be really important. And when we go back into the records, we won't really notice anything in terms of any transactions, etc., because we're not doing anything transactional. But if you look at the credit limit column here, you can see for that record here, we now have 1,100, and we can check the credit limit within their record, and that will now indicate the new credit limit on there now. So that's your credit limits, and like I say, it might be that you're decreasing credit limits. It might be just because of the way things are at the moment, you don't want to have as much credit. You might want to decrease the credit limits for your customers for the time being. So the next one we're going to look at is product sales and product purchase prices. Like I say, this is probably the key one that's in use at the moment. And that's because you're probably getting lots of customers or suppliers indicating that there is going to be a change to prices, or you might need to let your customers know that you're going to be changing your prices as well. So what we need to do is reflect that in your software. So again, I'm going to go back into the tools wizard, but again, just before we begin, I just want to have a quick look at some of my sales prices. So we're going to pick on these ones at the top because they're nice and easy to locate. As you can see here, we've got a sales price of £20.40 and £22.44. Okay, so what we're going to do is go back into tools, make sure there's nothing highlighted because we want to select from that list, and global changes. And this time, rather than looking at customer turnover or credit limits, I'm going to go a little bit further down, and I do have the option to change my product sales prices, but I've also got the option for my product purchase prices as well. So if I've got both of those recorded in the software and I need to alter those across multiple records, this is the place to do that. So I'm going to do sales prices as our example for today. And again, we get the option where we can sort it by item, or we can change it to category. Okay, so it might be that if you're using the products module, you're set up with different categories for different ranges. So it might just be, in this example here, or it's actually just all of my envelopes and mailing items that are actually subject to a price increase. So if you're using categories, you can pick it per category, but if not, you can flip it back onto item and you can pick your items from the list. Now again, if you're just going to do a blanket price change across everything, we can swap and it will apply whatever we apply to each and every item. But for the purposes of demonstrating, just so I don't change everything in one go, I'm just going to clear and I'm just going to focus on the top two in my list. So we've got these two here, and you can highlight multiple items. It depends on what selection style you've got selected. Mine allows me to click multiple items, but if yours is set onto the different selection style, you can just use your control key to help you click on multiple items at the same time. So I'm just going to change these two, and we're going to pop into next. And again, what I can do is I can add an amount. So if it was just a flat amount, I wanted to add, say, for example, £1 onto every single item, then I can do that. Probably not great if you've got items with different ranges of prices. So something that's £1 or something that's £100 would both get £1 added on. So they tend to be more towards increasing or decreasing by a percentage because that's based upon the original purchase or sales price. But you can multiply by an amount, divide by an amount, or you can even just give a figure. So if all of your current prices were all very similar and you want everything to be a flat rate, then you do have the option to give a figure as well. But again, just to try and reflect the most common ones that we do get when people are using the global changes, I'm just going to do an increase by a percentage here. Now again, the decimal places are set to 2, but you can change your decimal precision within the settings within the software. So if you have got this set up further, you can, I think you can go up to 4 or 5. I'm going to double check that towards the end, so bear with me on that one. But you can change the decimal places on there. The value, so I'm going to say again, I'm going to try and be realistic on here. Might just want to do 5%. It might be that you've had a bigger increase, and again, you can pop the value in there. So what it's going to do is look at every single item that I've selected, look at their current sales price and increase them by 5%. So if I click on next, again, it's prompting me first of all, showing me what I'm changing from and to. So again, if you're not quite happy at this point, you've got the opportunity to go back and nothing will change. It's only once we click post that this change will be reflected on those product records. So you can see here, a 5% increase is going to take us to 21.42 for board 001, and we've got 23.57 as a result of the price change there. So if I did want to record this, if I've got all of my products in my listing here and I wanted to have absolutely everything recorded elsewhere to update things like sales lists, etc., then I can send it to Excel. And once you can send it to Excel, you can upload it into our software, and it might make it easier for you to update your price lists that are held elsewhere. So I'm just going to click on post. And again, we're going to get the prompt to say it can't be reversed. And once it's posted, that's it. Once we go into the record, you'll see the change on the sales price, but there's not really anything else recorded anywhere else in terms of on the activity or anything to indicate that that price increase has taken place. So just bear that in mind, that there won't be any postings as a result transaction-wise. Now, if I did want to then come in and say, well, actually, I need to do a larger increase across a few more records, then again, I can go back into Tools, into Global Changes, back into my product sales prices, and I can go through the same process, again, highlighting the ones that I want to do a different increase on. So it's not just to be used once, you can use it multiple times. Obviously, if you do it on the same record, it's going to update the price, the sales price as it is when you enter the wizard. So a great little time saver for trying to make those changes rather than having to go into each individual record. So if we have a look at the process, if you were to do it manually, if we were going into each record manually, we'd need to log into the record, pop into the sales price, which is over here, and manually change that, which again, that is still possible if you want to do it that way. It'll give you a little bit more insight into what the current price is, etc. But quite a timely process and not exactly very speedy at this time of year when there's lots of other things going on. So the final one I just want to show you, because obviously you can have a look at this in the demonstration data and see which ones of the wizard are going to work for you and are going to do what you need to achieve, is just to have a look at discounts. Now, I did mention earlier discounts aren't as heavily used, but I just wanted to show you which discount this impacts. There are currently around 7 or 8 different ways of applying a discount within the software. So the Global Changes wizard only works on one of these discounts, and that's the item quantity discount. So when you are setting up a discount, we have a few different places to go for this particular one. This particular discount is when a customer purchases a certain number of a certain item. Once they meet certain thresholds, a discount will kick in. So for example, customer A might purchase 100 items, and because they've purchased over 100, we're going to give them a 10% discount. So just want to show you that first, because you might want to increase that to 15% in the new year, because you want to promote bulk buying, for example. So just want to show you this particular one, just in case you're using discounts at the moment and you're thinking you might use Global Changes, because it only applies to this one. So first of all, there's 3 places that this discount is held within the software. We've got it in settings and product defaults. And in here, this is where we can name them. So they're actually currently named discount A, B, C, D, and E, but you can rename them. So I've actually changed discount A to say discount quantity, just so it was quite clear from all the rest. So I've changed that one, discount A, but it might be that you've got a few different ones running at the moment. So I'm just going to say OK to that. So that's the settings. What we then need to do is in the product record itself. So I'm just going to pick on books 001. In here, we need to go into the discount tab for the product itself as well. We need to select the discount type. So this is actually normally discount A, but I've selected it as the quantity discount because I've renamed it. And then here you can see that when 5 of these items are purchased, a discount of 10% is applied, and it shows us what the discount value is. But if we purchase 10, there's a greater discount. So that's applied to the product record, but we also need to apply it to the customers it applies to as well. So this is probably one of the most complicated discounts. So I'm going to close because we've got that set up. And if I go into one of my customer records, I'm going to pick this one because it seems desperate to show itself. So I'll just pick on this particular one. And if we just go into the defaults tab, in here we've got an additional discount. And what I do need to do is I need to make sure quantity discount is selected if I want that quantity discount to kick in for this customer. So it's relating to the customer and the product. So when that customer in particular purchases 5 items, there'll be a 10% discount. If they purchase 10 of that item, 15, etc. And then save. So that's the discount we're referring to. Now, it might be that you're not using that, so I'm not going to go too much more in depth with that, but the global changes wizard can be used as well to change that particular discount. So as you can see, a little bit further down, we've got the quantity discount here. So if you're using any of those discounts, A, B, C, D, or E, they can also be altered in here as well across the different product records. So again, you don't have to do all of them that are using that discount. You can just select which ones it applies to. So I did just want to highlight that. That is getting a little bit in depth because not everyone uses discounts, but because there are 7 or 8 even different discounts around the software, I did want to just make it clear which one it's actually referring to within the global changes wizard. So that's the global changes. If you've got any questions, please do get them across to me. And if possible, I'll see if I can demonstrate those for you. But while we're moving on, just want to show you batch changes because this is another way in which you can change multiple records in one go. Now, it's not across all modules, but it is across some of them. So I'm going to pop into customers. Just going to remove my filter. Make sure I've got everything showing. And this is a really great feature again for changing multiple records in one go, but it changes different information to what is in the global changes wizard. So here what I can do is I can highlight multiple items. I'm just going to pick a few of my customers here. And what you'll see at the top is I've got the option for batch changes. Now, if you are using Essentials, unfortunately, this particular feature is not as part of your software. So if you can't see this, just double check your license with us. If it's Essentials, unfortunately, it is something that you would need an upgrade for. So I've got these multiple records highlighted. Now, if I clear, you can see I don't have the option for batch changes available to me. Okay, but the moment I select multiple items, it becomes available for me. Okay, questions coming through. I will come back to them in a moment. Okay, so the batch changes here. When I click on batch changes, it looks like it opens up a customer record for me. Okay, so in here you can see all items on that record, but you can see which ones can be changed and which ones can't. So here we can't change the reference. The reference always needs to stay the same. We can't change the balance on those customers, but what we can do is we can change the company name, we can change the address, we can change contact details, we can update the email settings. In defaults, we can change things like the default nominal code, the default tax code, default departments. So if you're starting to implement different parts of the software, then you can start to assign different departments to customer records, different tax codes. The ones that tend to be most useful or that I get the most queries around is changing things again to do with credit control. So it might be that you want to change your payment due terms. Okay, so For example, at the moment, I don't have any terms set up with this customer, but it might be that I want to change this to 30 days and offer them some credit. So I can do that across multiple records all at the same time just by going into the batch changes wizard there. So we can change the credit limit, but again, it doesn't allow us to do an increase or a decrease by a percentage. It just allows us to change it to a set value. So if I was to say £1,000 as the credit limit, it would do that across all of the records that I have highlighted on there. Another one that's really useful is that terms agreed message. I'm sure you've come across it before when you're setting up new customers and it gives you a tick box for terms agreed. You can tick that across these multiple records as well. And it means that you shouldn't get that message when you log into those particular records. So that changes your multiple records at once. If you look at the payment due column there, you can see that they're all set as 30 days there. So that's batch changes. You'll see that that is also in your supplier module. It's in your fixed assets module. I believe it's in the nominals, not in your nominals. So it's just in the customers and the suppliers and your fixed assets module. But like I say, a good way to change across multiple records there. So quick questions come there around what about if you give £100 discount when the customer has paid in full. So that could just be, I suppose there's a few different ones on discounts there. So without going into all depth of all the different types of discounts, there's prompt payment discount, which you can set up on your customers. It tends to only be around sort of 2.5%. But if you wanted to give a customer at the time of making the payment, to an invoice, that is possible, but it's not something you would change on a global change. So if you're wanting to give them a payment, a discount for just paying in full, it would tend to be, bear with me, when you're paying that off, I'm just going to double check that for you. Just see if I've got one set up. Quickly select a customer. Might need to quickly pop a transaction on to demonstrate this one. Let's just see if I've got one. There we go. Right, so I've just gone into this customer receipt. So if you did want to give this particular customer a discount at the point of payment, then you do have the option to pop on a discount here at the point of payment. So it's not something you can apply to the account for it's not prompt payment discount, because like I say, that would only be a percentage there. So if they'd given you a payment in full and you just want to apply that at the point of payment, you can go into the discount column and pop it into there and then pay the remaining amount that's available there. But nothing you would change through the global changes wizard there. So I'm just going to show you a little bit more information before we just pop onto the summary for today's session. Save that one. Okay, so I'll just pop back onto my screen there. So what I've just brought up is the Help Center. So if you're in your software and you go into Help and then Help Center, you'll be brought up with the Help Center here. Now there is the option in here to look for discounts. So if it is discounts you want a bit more information on there, we've got discounts within here. So there's net value discounts, there's prompt payment discounts, there's item quantity discounts. Can't remember them all off the top of my head, but like I say, there's 6 or 7 of them. And then on top of that, there's special price list as well. So it can get a little bit complicated when you're looking at discounts, but the Help Center will have lots of information on there on those different types of discounts. And I know we have done one in the past, which we've covered discounts on as well. But within here, when I've searched for things like global changes or batch changes, I just want to show you the 2 articles that are available. So we do have a batch changes video inside the batch changes article, and also the global changes wizard here gives you a little bit more information around those global changes and around things like your rounding, etc. as well. So another quick question there, just before we pop onto the summary, and I'll be able to demonstrate this one. back to the software. So how do you select all customers to do a batch change on them without having to individually click on all of them and highlight them using the control key? So very good question. So yes, if you had a lot of time to go through all your thousands of customers, you could click them. But the other option is your swap and clear keys at the top. So if I wanted to clear what I've selected already, we've got the clear option. It looks like a little brush. And if I was going to be doing all of my customers in a batch change, what I can do is the swap option, and that highlights everything. And sometimes it's easier if it's only one or two you don't want to change. It's easier to swap them and then unhighlight the ones you don't want to apply the change to. It means anything selected in blue, I can then do a batch change to. So like I say, it's really good if you're going to see setting up payment terms. That tends to be the most common one, is changing payment terms all in one go across all customers. You can do that by clearing, swapping, and then doing your batch change. So I hope that helps you. So another good time-saving method, because I think a lot of people see these buttons at the top, don't really know how they can use them to their advantage. Okay, so we'll just pop on for a quick summary. Okay, so just to summarize, the Global Changes Wizard is in the Tools menu. If you don't have access to the Tools menu, just check that you've got the right access rights. It might be someone's restricted your access to the Tools menu for making such changes. And it's really good for making changes to multiple records at the same time. Like I said, it's quite specific, so it does tend to be things like your turnover, your credit limits, your prices, etc. The most common ones it's used for, particularly around this time of year, is things like your sales prices and also for your credit limits as well. And those changes can be a fixed amount, or the most common ones used again are that percentage increase or percentage decrease. And remember the batch changes, it's completely separate to global changes, but it also does allow changes to multiple records all in one go for you. Okay, so upcoming webinars, it's that time of year, year end. For a lot of our customers does mean financial year end as well. So if you are doing your year end or you're coming up to that, we're doing a year end session this afternoon. So Michael will be taking you through the year end process. But if you can't make today, we are running it again next week and again later on this month, because we do appreciate a lot of people are running their year end around this time or feeling the pressure to do so. So please do join us on one of those sessions. They're all available on the Help Centre. Again, if you search for the word webinars, you'll find access to all of the upcoming topics and also into the recordings of previous sessions as well. With year end in mind, over January, we're actually looking at a lot of the routines around tidying up your data. So it's not just running a year end and making changes to your sales and purchase prices, but there are other things to consider. So clearing your audit trail, maybe clearing out older records. So we're going to be running a series across January. So again, do check that out on the Help Centre there. Get yourself registered for some of those sessions. We have been running some report design sessions as well over the last few months. So if you have missed those, by all means, do check out the recordings on the website. But we are running the next on those in January, so next week. Next Wednesday, Tina is going to be running through regrouping layouts. So if you do want to get to grips a bit more with report design, then next week we're running the next of that session. So please do again get yourself registered for that session too. And just quickly to talk about membership. So it's something that you do have access to as a Sage customer. And what you have access to is Sage University, which is our online learning platform. Let's go back a slide. So Sage University, sageu.com. You can log on and you can gain your certification in Sage Accounts and Payroll. And it's all free of charge. So if you want to log on, have a look and see what's available, then pop onto sageu.com. We've got Sage City, so we have got version 29 coming in the next few weeks, and next week we are running a session on version 29 and what to expect. But a lot of the feedback we receive, we put into the program, and Sage City is your platform for doing that. So if you do have any ideas or things you'd like to change or see in the software, Sage City is a great place to do that. And then we've got the masterclasses. So this slide talks about season 1, but we are in fact on season 2, which is all around productivity. And this is basically some of the experts from around the world. Some are from within business. We've got authors, writers, and what they're basically doing is bringing together some of their ideas around how to find and keep great people and how to increase productivity within the workplace. So they're not product specific. So if you do want to take a watch of those, they're really interesting to watch. And it's sage.com/UK/masterclass as well. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the session. So if you do have any final questions, please do get them across to me and I'll do my best to answer them for you. In the meantime, though, if you are leaving, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you'll be with us this afternoon for year end, or if not, next week. Hope to see you again there. A few questions coming through, so I'll just pop on mute for a moment or two while I have a quick read through those, and I'll see if I can demonstrate any of them while we're on the session today for you. Okay, so Gordon, you've just come across a very interesting question there, which I'm just going to very quickly test for you. Because my answer would say no, but I do just want to test it because I've never actually gone through the process. So I'm just in the process of testing that as we speak. So if you do bear with me, I'm certainly not ignoring the question there. Just want to try it on a live data set because the credit limit field is the only field where it sort of enforces a value into. So I do just want to test that, and I'm in the best place to do it because I've got a data set here. So bear with me 2 moments and I will come back to you on that one because I do just want to check on that one. Okay, so just wanted to double check that one because, like I say, I haven't been through the process and never commit 100%. And I'm just going to demonstrate it for you so you can actually see it in action there. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to do a batch change. Just for anyone who is listening, the question is, in a batch change, does it only alter the fields you change? For example, payment due field, it won't reduce all credit limits to 0. So normally with the batch changes, I would say yes, it only impacts the field you change. Okay, so if I went into batch change, like I'm just going to do now, and mine's hidden away at the moment, which again is another tip if you can't find batch changes, because I'm in a different data set now for demonstrating this. Mine's grouped it together under new edit. So I'm just going to pop into batch changes now over these 4 records that I've got highlighted at the top. So you can see at the moment they've got credit limits, relating to them. I'm going to pop into batch changes. Now, if I were to change, for example, the company name on all of these, but not impact anything else, it would only change the company name, so it wouldn't change something else elsewhere. But my reason for just wanting to double check this is that when you go into credit limit, it automatically populates this with 0, and when I clear it, it replaces it with 0. So that's why I just wanted to double check that one for you. Now I'm just going to change the payment due to, say, 100. Now just make sure, I'm going to actually close out and say no for a second because I have just changed the credit limit there. So if I just go back into batch changes, and the only change I'm going to make this time is in fact to the payment due field. So I'm not touching the credit limit. And save. So I'm going to say 100 days just so it's an obvious change. And say yes to changes. What we can see there is my payment due field has changed, but my credit limit hasn't changed. Now, had I gone in and played with that credit limit, it might have changed it. So I'd say just stay clear of that field. You should be fine. As you can see, their credit limit has remained as it was beforehand. So it shouldn't replace them with 0, but if you were to put, say, £100 in, it would then look at replacing them for you. But like I say, just wanted to change that, check that one with it having that pre-populated value in there. So no, it should only impact the field that you're opting to change. Okay, if there's any other questions, please do get them across. Otherwise, we'll look to end the session. Just hang on for a couple more moments just to make sure there's no final questions there. Okay, so no final questions, so I'll end the session there. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you joining us today. We hope to see you on another session really soon. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you on our next sessions.